I find it interesting how when you present facts to your so-called pro-blacks, they then start resorting to ad hominem attacks. Recently, when I was reading the comments section of the video where I checked this so-called pro-black authority, the comments went from regular comments to now to ad hominem attacks. I don't know if these are troll accounts, but it looks like someone is trying to get a response out of me. And I'm still going to stay on the high road because all of my facts, just like those I present in my blog, www.seansjames.blogspot.com, cannot be deconstructed, they cannot be refuted. They're presented based on research. Everything I said about this so called pro black authority was presented based on facts on his own webpage and in his own videos and based in his own actions. But these people, they're looking like they want to try to become crap starters and try to start a so-called beef or just start an argument between myself and this individual. Now I have put everything behind me. As a Christian, I have said my piece and I am moving on. As I see it, any types of attempts to try to attack me pretty much prove that I have won my argument and proven all of my points. Now, I find it interesting that you're pro-blacks, when it's time for them to actually act on the platform that they present to people, they seem to turn into cowards. It's just very interesting to me to just see that. I mean, when I presented the Kickstarter back in February, March of this year, and I was invited to this Facebook group, TMI, to promote it, all of a sudden it's no solicitations. But this is the same individual who sits there and talks about, how we need to have group economics. Now, here I am, a black businessman, presenting you with an opportunity to participate in group economics. The very principle that is a part of your whole pro-black platform, one of your big principles of Ujima, which was presented by your Maluna Karenga way back in the 1970s, cooperative economics. Here's an opportunity to help a black business. A black business which has produced over 50 titles, and many of them are on display here. And the reason why there's two that are not there is because I'm going to talk about them in a minute. Here's an opportunity for you to help a black-owned business. A black-owned business that produces the very content that you preach and say that you are for. You say you want positive stories about the African American experience, and here I am, a publisher of products about that feature the positive stories of the African American experience. Now, when I was invited to this group a couple of months ago, um, I get told that there's no solicitation. So here I am trying to do a Kickstarter to get covers to improve the quality of my products, and I get told no solicitations. What does this have, or what is this? How does this regard, your platform? You say you're about group economics, but when it's time for you to help a black business, you're gone. And thank God, some other people, I'm not going to mention their names, they came in and donated, and I was able to get the Kickstarter funded this year. And this year, with the help of those people and the funding of the Kickstarter, I was able to publish these two books this summer. Two books which feature positive images of African American women. Now, same African American women that many of these pro-black Negroes sit up and complain about. Complain that, all the images of black women are negative and this is your black queen. Well, the ISIS series presents a positive image of your African American woman in her adventures in her series. And I also produce other books, such as The Thetas here, which also presents a positive image of African American women. But I find it interesting that your pro-black will sit there and talk about how the image of black women is tarnished. They'll sit there and talk about these women for hours on end. They'll post these pictures of big butt women, in lingerie pictures, and talk about how this is a negative image of black women. But when you have an opportunity to work with a man who has been publishing positive images of African American women for the past 7 years, you tell him no solicitations, and then you threaten to kick him out of his group. And I find it more interesting that the acolytes now, because they cannot refute any of the points that I presented in the previous video, now is resorting to ad hominem attacks, talking about how I am a butthurt person, very funny, and how one even tried to attack my hair. Because, they cannot present facts based on the arguments I presented, because if you go to any of these Facebook groups, you will see the information posted there. You cannot, deny it. And I have witnesses like J.M. McSwain to even, and others that have come to me and said the exact same thing about this individual. You cannot deconstruct the information that I present. You cannot refute the information I present. So now they resort to ad hominem attacks. But this is your pro-black. They say that they are about blackness and they are about, you know, building a better black community. Because again, this guy also talks about building all the time. Well, how can you be about building when you don't want to work with anyone who is trying to build? You're not going to do it alone. See, this is the whole fallacy of many of these pro-blacks. Again, many of them live inside their own head, like a lot of these females. They live in their own head. They live in their own imagination, and they don't understand that you have to work with others in order to make things come to reality. And that even though you disagree with people, you're still going to have to form a consensus with those people if you hope to achieve any goals. But this is the problem, with your red, black, and green Afro-American Negro. They, again, live in their heads. They think the only solution for things is their solution. And if you disagree with them, they either try to take their ball and walk away, or they come at you with ad hominem attacks and shaming tactics. And this is just not the way things are done. And, there is nothing bitter about any of the arguments I presented. I presented facts and, facts based on the consensus of things that I have seen and watched in the Facebook groups, facts that I presented that were presented to me by other witnesses. And, you can't attack a fact that is presented to you. I mean, when you go to court or you go in any other forum, if you present facts to people, the facts can't be deconstructed, they can't be broken down, they cannot be refuted. And when you resort to ad hominem attacks, it tells the world that that other person has already won. And when you deal with a guy like me, who has run a blog for about 7 or 8 years and has seen it all and heard it all, none of these ad hominem attacks pretty much faze me. Again, I have been dealing with this type of behavior since I was 12 years old. I've had people call me retarded, I've had people call me crazy, I've had people call me slow, and I have dealt with this, again, for the past almost 30 years. So any of these attacks just pretty much, I find them laughable, and it pretty much shows me how the maturity level of many of your pro-blacks and the followers of this so-called pro-black authority, it just shows me, what maturity level they're on, and that they cannot come to me with an articulate argument, to defend themselves, and they cannot, process the information that is presented to them. They're almost like many of the comic book fanboys I ran into many years ago, who, when you present the discussion about Star Trek or Star Wars, they're so personally involved that they cannot, see that it's just fiction. Or the people who they get upset, regarding a Batman versus Captain America debate, where they're getting emotional and taking it personal. Or just like this individual I ran into on the train a few days ago when I was talking about LeBron James. They couldn't understand that, this in the scheme of things, this game means nothing. And they were so emotionally attached to LeBron James that they were taking it personal, because we were sitting there talking about what type of excuse LeBron James is going to make. And I look at these pro-blacks and I ask them, what type of excuse are you going to make when somebody like myself presents facts to you regarding one of your people that you're following? I mean, I'm a fan of other YouTubers like your David Carroll or your Iceman, Man, Voodoo Man, but I can disagree with their points. I can disagree with their opinions, and at the end of I can just sit there and say to myself, you know what? I agree with their positions. I follow their videos, but if somebody attacks them, that's on them, and that's on them, and that they will make a response if they feel like it, and that's something for them to do. I'm not going to go into ad hominems because somebody presents me with facts. The only reason why I made this video earlier about this pro-black authority is because he was attacking decent black men. Again, I was going to let it slide, regarding the Kickstarter. I was just going to let it go because that's the Christian in me. I'm going to forgive and forget and move on. But when he started attacking other black men and using ad hominem attacks, I felt like I had to step in. This was a younger man. J.M. McSwain was a younger man. He had an IT. He was on his way to an IT degree. This is the type of black man many of these pro-blacks say that they need in the community. These are the people that you need to help build a community. And here you are attacking the very people that you say you need and support. And again, it shows the hypocrisy. Again, with my situation, here I am, a man who's trying to build up a publishing business which produces positive images of African Americans. And here you are sitting here complaining about day after day. Many of you people in these Facebook groups complaining, about shows like Empire, shows about Scandal, um, all of these twerk videos, all of these big booty pictures, things like Raven Simone, people like Kerry Washington. And when you have an opportunity to work with someone like myself, who has produced over 50 books, which produce some of the most positive images of African American women, um, instead of taking the opportunity to help support that work, what you do is attack the person. Do you see how backwards that is? And I clearly see, how dysfunctional and how hypocritical that is. You can't say you want a solution and not participate in it. This is why I can agree with David Carroll on one point, in that many of you Negroes don't want any solutions. When somebody offers you a solution or an opportunity to participate in a solution, you take the opportunity to participate in the solution. And here I was, people complained to me saying, I want better covers. And that Kickstarter was a way to help get better covers. I was trying to build, those positive images, trying to give your kids, African American kids, the heroines that they desperately need. Because again, many black women complain, many black people, especially pro-blacks, complain that the images of black women are negative, and then you say that the black woman is a teacher of culture. Well, with my ISIS series, I produce, in these books like these, I produce positive images of African American women, humanized images of African American women. Same thing with this critically acclaimed novel, The Thetas. I produced some of the most positive and humanized images of African American women out there. And these books are praised and acclaimed, but your pro-blacks don't want to support them. They'll sit there and tell me, the images on this book is too light skinned, or these characters look like white women. But then, you know, you'll sit there and complain that there's no solution. No, the whole thing is that you sit there and complain about it. The whole thing is that somebody's bringing you something to the table and trying to help you. You don't tell them to go away. I mean, I'm a black man. If it's created by a black man and it's a black image, shouldn't you support it? It's kind of backwards, that you'll sit there and say, I hate these images, but when a black man comes in with a different image, you'll sit there and say, I don't want that image. This image, these images are too light skinned, and this shows you the cognitive distortion regarding these pro-blacks. Again, when they talk about they want positive images of black people, the whole irony of it is they want those images to come from a white person. Again, in their eyes, they're always talking about white supremacy, but the irony is that they participate more in white supremacy than anyone in this whole country. Your pro-black will sit there and say, we need to fight white supremacy. Well, the whole counterpoint of white supremacy is us making our own images, making our own media, supporting our own businesses, supporting our own culture, protecting our own businesses, and protecting our own culture, and working together. This is how you fight your so-called white supremacy. It is not going to be fought through some hilariously comical race war, because I guarantee you what your pro-black thinks is going to happen in a race war. What's going to happen is the military outnumbers your 12% African American population, 50 to 1. So you wouldn't last 5 seconds. You're not going to fight your white supremacy that way. Again, this is a religion and a mental culture ingrained in the minds of both black and white people, and more so in the minds of your pro-black. Because your pro-black, he talks a good game. Many of these acolytes talk a good game. But when it's time to participate in action, again, buying books like these two right here that were part of that Kickstarter, which feature positive images of African American women, features fantasy images of your African American women, like your Disney princesses that you pro-blacks complain about, and books like The Thetas here, the sorority story that I presented last on 2013. When it's time for you to buy books like this, you don't come to the table. You're the guys sitting there protesting and complaining, But when it's time to participate in the solution, you're not there. And then when somebody presents you with facts, regarding the people that you try to follow, what happens is that you want to make ad hominem attacks at people like myself. Now, again, it doesn't faze me, but I'm going to present, the facts, the way the facts need to be presented. And, I've been out here since the early 90s trying to produce these positive images of African Americans. I produced them for many years. And, if you look at my actions, I have integrity. Um, I did the Kickstarter. Once I got the funding, the books were published, the artist was hired, covers were designed. See the covers? They were designed by professional artists. Um, the rewards were sent out about a week ago. I got a Facebook message from the person who paid for all the rewards, and they were happy and satisfied with them. But many of your pro-blacks, they don't understand. This is how business is done. This is how goals are met. This is how goals are completed. This is what happens when you set goals and you complete goals. And you sit there and you guys sit there and you talk about how you are about pro-blackness, but to me, you pretty much show me through your actions how hypocritical you are. And, if you were really about pro-blackness, again, you would be buying books like these for your children. Again, African American images right on the cover, African American stories written by an African American. That's pro-blackness. I mean, it's published by a black man, written by a black man, created by a black man. But then you'll tell me it's too white. And it shows me, the backwards nature of your pro-black regarding how his words conflict completely with their actions and how they really don't want any solutions. And any solution that they truly, really want is for this white person to come and validate them and approve of them and, create a black image, which is completely oxymoronic and, a complete fallacy because if the white person is producing your image, then how is it a black image? That shows you how backwards your pro-black is. And a lot of these people think that, by attacking me personally, saying that I'm a bitter, butthurt person or you want to just attack my flat top fade, that you're doing something, but all you're doing is proving my point. I have run into this numerous times on blogs like the Why 70% of Black Women Are Single blog and the Why Real Men Avoid Single Mothers blog. If you read the comments section on both of those blogs, you will find that every person who tried to attack me pretty much proved my point and pretty much proved that my arguments were pretty much, so ironclad and irrefutable that they could not, present a counterpoint to break it. And both of those blogs were just unbreakable. Now, I'm willing to just let this go and move on, and I'm not looking to do any beefs because I have too much time. I'm trying to get these books out, trying to sell these books, and trying to present that positive image of African Americans that many people talk about, but I'm finding a lot of people don't want to support. Now, you can find ISIS Night of the Vampires in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. The book will be free to anybody who has Amazon Prime, and it's also 99 cents an ebook. East Team Undercover is also available on Kindle Unlimited and in paperback. If you have Amazon Prime, you can borrow this for free in ebook format. That's all I have to say for this video. I present positive image. Oh yeah, and the Thetas is also available in paperback and on Kindle Unlimited. And you can get this one for free if you have Amazon Prime. This one is critically acclaimed and is very popular with women, not only black women, but white women as well, and women all over the world. I strongly urge you to go pick this one up because it's one of the most balanced stories featuring African American women. But all those books are available on Amazon.com along with a whole lot of other titles. That's all I have to say for this video. And comment, rate, and subscribe.